All right, today's topic is to explain why we need information systems. What are information systems in global business today? Are they important or not? And immediately I dare to make a statement. Information systems and information is so important today. It's considered to be probably one of the most important strategic resources for any business. And I like this comparison. We can compare the importance of information and information systems today with the word in the Bible. We know, of course, it's about Jesus, but also it could be understood from slightly different point of view. And this is exactly the Bible, the word, the written word of God that He left for us, which is the probably one of the most important, I would say, instruction manual for any human. And let's return to information in the real world, or word, which is also kind of an information in the real life world and business today. The links I put here, I will not follow them and discuss because I believe you're already familiar, but they show, and you can find out starting from maybe 2017 up to now, that if you look for the top best jobs in United States, among the first 10, always you can find at least a few jobs that contain the word information or IT or even statistician, which is related to business analytics, but business analytics without information systems it's meaningless. So I dare to say again that information systems and information nowadays is the most important strategic resource for any real life business and company. Now we'll go quickly on some important points in this first chapter, but as I told you, I will concentrate only on these that are first important. Second, they are not discussed in your book, or they are discussed in your book but not enough. So first of all, why do we need to process data? That is rough information, raw data, as we call it also. A very good survey was done last century in 1973. George Anderle published his information, the results of his study. And as you can see, the information that in the beginning, if we consider at 0 year AC, is 1 unit of information, until 15th century, it's only doubled. And after that, in 1973, the amount increased 128 times. What's going on after 1973? It continues increasing, and it's kind of exponential function. So nowadays, if I want to continue the chart, my screen is not enough, and I have to go probably above my seal, and still not enough. Why so much information? By the way, I can also quote something in Googlepedia that, by the way, it was also mentioned in 2014 by our former chaplain, Paddy McCoy, that about of information doubles every 72 days. It's serious, and that's why the term and the global problem big data exists. And a similar chart you can find also in other sources, or one very, very popular book about Nate Silver, considered to be guru in predictions, who predicted who will be the next president of United States about 10 years ago, something like this. But the point is that I really respect this man, and his book is very good for predictions for general audience. So if you like reading about predictions and making forecasts, this book is very good to start with. And something else I will not show you, but you can use this. You can find it always, the link. I put just few pictures. It's one very old movie, one of the first sci-fi movies, Brazil. And I like because in this very short episode video of the movie, there was a terrorist, kind of a terrorist, and paper came out from nowhere and started wrapping, and finally ate the terrorist, and he disappeared. Well, one can say, no, you exaggerate, but I would say, on the contrary, no, it's just analogy. The information is so much important because and you can use many reasons, which I will skip because everybody knows that information systems can help in many different areas. And if we check the total investments, they still increase. And I will just quickly mention that information systems and technologies are the foundation of doing one of the most important business. I will use the local company Charter, which now is Spectrum, or Pocket iNet. None of them will exist if there was no information system, no information technologies. And there is very strong interdependence between organizations and information technologies and information systems. So I can immediately make another statement that information systems are one of the most important tools used by contemporary organizations to solve most of their real-life business problems. Another important reason, because information systems and technologies, they help increasing the productivity of any business. Also, this will have a special discussion in chapter, I believe chapter 3 or later on, doesn't matter, about the strategic advantages of applying information systems. This gives information systems one really, okay, I directly will stop just speaking. I'll give you an example, Amazon.com. Is there any company that can compete nowadays, today, Amazon in online business? But it took about 6 years for Amazon to get the return of their investment. Though right now they are the leading company in online business. Plus, of course, as you know, Jeff Bezos is the richest man, even richer than Bill Gates. And now I'll just discuss just briefly one very important point. Long time ago, Mr. Norman Carr made a statement. He was the leading or senior editor of Harvard Business Review. And he made this statement that whatever advantages firms built using IT can be easily copied by competitors. Oh man, if this is true, then we'll have not one Amazon, but maybe hundreds of Amazons. So what is important? No advantages, especially competitive advantages, they do not come from the technology itself, but on how business use this technology. So remember, as we'll see very soon, in some other examples, it is how we are going to use information systems, because even the best supercomputer, the best super intelligent software, they cannot help you to reach the top of the business if you don't know how to use them, how to apply them. And by the way, this is probably one of the most important goals in this class, to learn how to use information systems. So when you graduate, and as this happened with our alumni, very soon most of you will have more or less a leading role, will be managers in a company, and making decisions depends very much on the characteristics and the quality of the information that the managers will use when making decisions. So let's this I will skip and just will mention one very important, this I will quote. You know, information systems and information was recognized to be one of the most important, as I told you, resources long time ago. In the beginning of the 90s, last century, one of the first books was published, The Electronic Revolution of Business, something like this. No, the electronic revolution of commerce or something like this. Doesn't matter, but the statement, by the way, I have it in my library, and I'll quote this very good statement. So far, we have been using paper-based media, paper money, and information. Today, the world is moving towards electronic-based digital media. Here in the United States, I can I dare to say immediately to ask students, how often you have seen or you use cash? You know, even right now, Walmart almost and many other supermarkets, they don't accept cash anymore. Only card. Yes, and this is exactly electronic money. Also, if we continue with the information, we'll see that how the so-called information economy increases. And though, as you know me, I don't like Bill Gates Microsoft too much, but I respect Bill Gates. He's very clever man, and long time ago, in year 2000, he made this statement, I'll quote, that by the year 2002, there will only be two kinds of companies, those with websites and those no longer in business. Is this true? I would say in United States, it is more than 95% true. Because without, you cannot expect, you know, even the smallest company nowadays usually offer their services online and use websites at least for advertising. And what about other companies that rely totally on information services as Pocket INET, as Charter, as I mentioned, and use? So it seems that everything more or less depends on information systems. In the past, we used to have formal and informal systems, manual information system. Today, we'll talk only about formal computer-based information systems. That means information systems used by organizations to solve real-life business problems or any kind of real-life problems. And now we'll talk a little bit more about what an information system is, and we'll discuss some details that are very important to understand and remember what an information system is, and how, more importantly, how to develop a successful information system. So there are a few perspectives, and more importantly, technology and business perspective. We'll start with the technology perspective, the scientific or perspective, I may say, about information system, and then we'll also talk about the business perspective. So what is an information system? One of the most commonly used definition is a set of interrelated components. So I will stop at each part that will help us to understand better, and we'll talk about each part in the next few minutes. So first part, a set of interrelated components or elements that collect or retrieve, process, store, as and distribute information. Part 2 means that function somehow. Part 3, to support decision-making and control in organization. An organization. Part 3 means that each system must have or has a goal. And the goal of information system is to support decision-making and control in an organization. So, step or point number 1. What is information? What does information mean in this definition? First, we must understand and we must be aware and should distinguish between data and information. Data, also known as raw information or raw materials, we can say, or just facts, unprocessed information, and so forth, observations, records, invoices, and so forth, that are usually collected from an organization, business, or not-for-profit, that they use when planning, organizing, and so forth, their work in general to support their decision making. All right, with the help of information system, we transform this data into useful information. Now, that means from now on, when we talk about different information systems, we'll very often speak about something that comes, we'll call it inputs, and something that goes, which we'll call output. Of course, just in a minute, I'll clarify a little bit more about these inputs and outputs. So data become information. What does it mean? Well, it means, first of all, that the output or what the information system proceeds and prepare for the user must be good. That's why we talk about good information. Information that must be meaningful, accurate, confident, on time, and so forth, understandable, and so forth. As you can see, all these, we can, using the common logic, we can identify these characteristics of good information. One thing to mention here, all of them refer or they're connected only to this technology perspective of information system. There is one thing which I will add here when we talk and use the business perspective of information systems. So we need good information. How this happened? This happened if we have first reliable source when capturing, retrieving, recording data. Then we need good system to store this data. Technically, we call it database systems. Then we need a reliable system, software, to process this data. But be careful, even process data still not information. Why? Because this process data must be delivered to the decision maker who will understand and will use and apply this process data to make better decisions. And these decisions, now they will create value for or strategic advantages for this information. Of course, here we also need another special system, the so-called knowledge-based system, to save for future needs these process data and now applied, used, and kind of that's transformed to the so-called information, which means that coming from the real world data, were processed, understood, and applied when making decisions, and return again to the real world, but now as actions, decisions, changes, and so forth and so forth. These lead us to the second very important point in the information system definition from technology perspective. We said it's a system. What a system means. The system here, the shortest definition is a system is a set of interrelated parts that must work together to achieve the common goal. Can you see the three parts? A set of interrelated parts, elements. Second, must work together. Third, to achieve the common goal. I will talk a few more minutes about systems because this is the place to understand. Probably you heard, at least in my classes, very often using the term system. What a system is. A system is a logical construction. And by the way, it was used a long time ago, not exactly with the term system, but even in Greek philosophers, thousands of years ago, you can find a great number of logical constructions that are used nowadays in the systems approach. And because of this systems approach and systems theory, also very often could be called the logical approach, because it's based totally on logic. And now let's understand, what does it mean? A set of interrelated parts that must work together to achieve the common goal. So I'll enter to this slide, but want to show you first the next slide, the systems model, which help us also to understand the system as a whole. But let's return and first talk about its elements and parts, and then we'll return to this model, and again we'll clarify the definition. So we said system is a set of interrelated parts, elements. They could be also subsystems. So if we have system A may consist of subsystem B, subsystem C, meaning this construction must allow very easy, the so-called drill down, or to separate it in its basic elements or components. That also could be called subsystems. As you'll see in a few slides later on, for example, a company as a system will have information system as a subsystem. Why this happened and how? Well, we'll discuss this in a couple of minutes. Second thing, all these subsystems, they must be separated, of course, from any other elements, parts, components that are not part of the system, with the system borders. Let's say these are the system borders. Everything that is not within the system or part of the system is referred to as systems environment. Okay, so we have set of interrelated parts. Then they must work together. Oh, here, very nice quote. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. My favorite example is with a car. If you have all components of the car, is this a transportation tool? Not at all. Why? Because they must work together. They must be organized appropriately in one common structure. And then when they are together in one structure and work together, then this will be a car. And none of the parts or mechanical sum of these parts can work as a transportation tool. That is what means the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And finally, there is no system that works without a common goal. If there is no goal, it's not a system. Just set of something, components, or so. We can again go to the next slide. Here we have goals. These goals identify our future system. How the system works, it takes, suppose it's impossible, systems could be divided in closed and open system. It's impossible to have closed system, not in the real life business and real life today. So system interact with its environment. And if we group all points where the system receive impacts, influence, we can call them inputs. And if we group all components through which the company interact or influence, affect the environment, we can call them outputs, outputs. Meaning system can have one or more input and one or more output. What in between? In between, we have the so-called process of transformation. That is, the inputs will be transformed into useful outputs. And to verify that the outputs are good and they satisfy the company, the system goals, we need information of feedback or just feedback from the output. This feedback is used by the manager, the decision maker or makers, that after that they use the feedback to manage the inputs and the process of transformation. Output is a result. It can't be managed because it depends on the transformation and the inputs. So the easiest way is when everything is fine, just to control the inputs and the transformation. If necessary, we can organize them, we can change them. In general, as I believe most of you already have taken the general management class, and you know that management consists of control, plan, organization, and so forth and so forth. All right, now, next slide. Let's now consider the business firm as a system. This example helps us to understand also why information system, let's say, could be one's system and at other time could be a subsystem. Well, the answer is very simple. It depends on the subject of our analysis. If the subject is to analyze how our business firm is working, then information system is one of the components of this company, of this system, and becomes a subsystem. So in the business firm as a system, we can recognize a physical system that use the resources, inputs, transform them into goods or services, the useful outputs. Then we need management system to manage, to control, to manage these processes, inputs and transformation, and it works very well only if we use information system to provide feedback from inputs, transformation, outputs, meaning information about everything, and which will help the management system to control and plan, organize in general, to manage better the physical system. A long time ago, Stafford Beer, one of the researchers and scientists who established the so-called systems theory club or systems club, developed even more complex and complicated system model for the business firm. We'll not discuss it, but if we continue, we can make many or much more complicated and complex model of the business firm. So let's return again to the information system and finalize the technology perspective. So we said this is information system is a set of interrelated parts. What parts we'll see in a minute, but hardware, software, computers, internet, and so forth, that are used to collect, store, process, disseminate useful data into information. And I'll return to this point just in a second. Let's finish first. So this second point means that this set of interrelated parts work together to process this data and deliver them in the output, to the organization, decision makers. Of course, there could be many other parts that are the system environment. We need also feedback, so the information system could be managed better. And before I continue, let's return to the point. Data information, you can find them as interrelated, even as synonyms, but to be more precise, information is the better term. Why? Because information could be used both or could be at the output when we use it to make decisions, but information, or also called secondary data, could be used at the input for other information systems. Immediately, I can give you an example that most of you are aware because everyone have taken accounting class. So what's happened when we process the first financial data? We receive reports, or let's say payroll. The payroll, which is information, useful information to pay money to workers. But we can use the payroll as input data in more advanced, complex system at the next level of the hierarchy of the management to prepare integrated financial reports, or for preparing more deeper view or complex view of the financial picture of the company. So that's why we can talk about information, considering that this could be an input or output, and meaning that information is more universal term than data. Though also we'll use very often the data term, but don't worry when we say or I use information, sometimes you may say, but it's more precise to say data, probably, but as I told you, information works in all cases, so that's why most of the time we are speaking about information, primary, secondary information, used or to be used, to be processed, and so forth and so forth. Good. So point number 2, it's not just a technology. We need business perspective. What is the business perspective? Well, the business perspective is, this chart will help us to understand. Information means it's good when creates value. Meaning, during the process of transformation, this information, and I was wrong. Not here. Here we process data and prepare these process data into useful information, but only when we use and apply information, then indirectly information creates value short term or strategic advantages in long term, meaning then we can add value and find how much important is the information. So in general, we can, from business point of view, we can summarize. Data, they involve only expenses. But information, when used appropriately, will create value or strategic advantages. And here this will return and discuss very, very often the business value chain. And business information also has its value chain and help the company to create value and achieve competitive advantages in long term. Now, before I finish the presentation, first and very important, another very important note. Is it possible to, and what does it mean, competitive advantages? Let's have a look at this chart representing the information capital, IT capital stock, and also productivity or return, let's say, of investment. So everyone can understand this. High investment, high productivity. But how to explain this, or high investment but poor productivity because of bad management? And how to explain this? Low investment, very high productivity. All right, this is a chart I will use very often in the future. And there'll be a special discussion when talking about how to develop a successful information system. It means, and just of course, the key is in the explanation of Mr. Norman Carr wrong statement. It is how we are going to use information systems, meaning if we use it just for very easy, just to help in something, this will be a very small increase in our productivity or just automation. But suppose that we jump and we just start new kind of business, charter, pocket inet. Oh no, better is Amazon, immediately Amazon. The so-called paradigm shift. Well, then we can expect much higher productivity than any other company with relatively low investment. All right, now to summarize about information systems. Information systems which always must be discussed and understood by the two perspectives, technology and business perspective in general, must and should be discussed as three important dimensions: organizations or the structure. Technology, in our case, we can say these are the hardware, the software, internet, and so forth. We'll have a special chapter when we'll discuss them. And finally, don't forget people, humans. If we speak about management information systems, of course, these will be the managers. So all of them must work together, must be optimized if we want to have a successful information system. That means when we start developing an information system, we must understood everything, not just from computer literacy point of view, but from information systems literacy point of view, and start discussing or speaking. I'll jump over this because we'll have a special discussions on these components. So here it is. So we have technical approach and behavioral approach, or the best is both socio-technical systems. So we start from both sides, organizational point of view, organization side, and technology. And we continue optimizing the construction, the logical construction of the information system until both of them are optimized, and this is the final design both of technology and of organization. Only then we can have the most successful information system. In the next chapter, we'll introduce and speak about some important type of information systems, and in other words, we'll continue the first topic, but in more details. Of course, one final point. Remember, again, information systems are not a panacea that cure everything. And there are a lot of challenges. So again, to repeat myself, neither the best supercomputer, not the best super intelligent software can help you if you don't know how to apply both of them. That's why our first conclusion from topic 1, chapter 1 is we must know and understand information systems, and second, even more important from business point of view, we must know and understand how to apply them in the real life business.